Okay, we're live. What's up, everybody? My name is Tiffany Hill Cook, and I run a spiritual practice called the Healing Hill. And a little over a year ago, a new aspect of my purpose started to present itself, and how that manifested was wanting to create containers of light for others to share their light. And I invited Dr. Samantha Cooper today because I just really enjoy her company. She is uh, a bright light. She has many spiritual gifts. The ones that we're probably going to use today would be her channeling gift and definitely the gift of spiritual leadership. And I should have been a little bit more prepared, but I do have, let me tell you a little bit about Samantha. Um, well, would you mind introducing yourself? I don't have this saved right now. So,
It's quite all right. I always love and hate that question because, the traditional is tell me about yourself. And we get what? Name, rank, and serial number, where you're from, what your job is.
yeah,
And I don't feel like those things add a whole lot of value. So,
I- they're,
it's Samantha, CPA, and I work for a software company, but that's not all that interesting.
yeah, I know.
um,
Yeah.
my primary roles that I like to share, I'm a very proud mama to a 13-year-old high schooler who I homeschool, and she is the biggest blessing I think that has ever occurred in my life. So, mom, teacher, coach, mentor, spiritual guide, I love to use those roles rather than, accountants and teachers.
Age, sex, location type.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess I'll take the title of spiritual leader. I that comes through, I guess, in how I interact with other people, but it feels like a big title to hold. I just
Mhm.
love sharing my spiritual experiences, channeling for others, channeling for myself, and just, living in the woo and all the weirdness that happens and how beautiful that can be, really.
Yeah.
So,
Magic
yeah.
in the mystery. Yeah. I
Yeah.
totally agree in the sense of identifications. They're just so temporary and transient, and also can be rather limiting. If you start to identify as a thing and identify as a thing, you may not allow yourself to become another thing. So,
Mhm.
yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So today we're going to meet for a half of an hour. I wanted to do something a little bit different with Samantha because we are both channels. I created what I call the jar of questions, and there's probably 300 questions in here, and they relate to everything from existential questions to dreams to karma. And I just know that whatever we pull out here is going to be viable and useful for someone. So, oh, before I begin, if you benefit from this conversation that I have with Samantha, as an exchange of energy, please give me a thumbs up. Give us a thumbs up. That's, just a nice balance of energy. And secondarily, if you have some sort of offering that you would like to join me on a live event for, please, my email is in the description box below. Contact me and let's talk about collaborating on something. So, all right, let's get in here. Oh, this is a great question. Can the soul be damaged or healed?
Oh boy.
Right?
Oh boy, can it ever?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Do
Right?
you
That's
want me to share my own 2 cents first, or
yeah,
are you?
of course,
Yeah.
please.
Wow. Well, so I learned about a concept here, and I forget what book, so I apologize. I'm not quoting whoever termed this or where I learned it from, but they call it soul erosion,
Mhm.
which happens, I'm sure, over the course of many, many lifetimes. I'm just digging into what's happened to me in my own lifetime and how that has not only changed me as a person, but it etches away at your soul, I think, over time. So, can it be damaged? I think absolutely. Like that's part of the reason we come here, right? We come to the College of Earth to have these experiences, to learn, to grow, and to heal things that may have happened to us in prior lifetimes, or simply
Mhm.
things that our soul hasn't experienced yet and wants to learn about.
Mm.
So definitely, I think we're here to both experience both, right?
Mm.
Before we can learn to heal something, we have to, break it before you can put it back together again. So unfortunately, yeah, I think as a person in individual lifetimes and as a soul, we absolutely go through damage and repair.
Mhm. That's beautiful. I've never heard of that term before, soul erosion, but I know from personal experience, and I just feel some emotion coming right now. I was so disconnected from my soul for many, many decades in this lifetime. I was I chose my parents. I chose the environment that I grew up in. I chose for them to, get divorced at age 7 and both remarry within 3 months. I mean, that was a lot of, um, you know, unsettling to my foundation. But at 35, something happened and I had an awakening and I had a little tap at my door. And it was like, there was remembrance in a way that I'd never felt before. I'm reading a really good book right now by Dolores Cannon called The Three Waves of Volunteers. And in one of the regressions, the subconscious of this person is talking about how massive our oversoul is, and that if our oversoul actually entered into the body would disintegrate. It can't hold how massive we truly are. And so what our oversoul will send is what they called as splinters of ourselves,
Hmm.
unbalanced components, or um, pieces of ourselves that need to be healed or seen in a different way or received or given. And so I echo what you say. Absolutely, the soul can be damaged, but not to the point where it will ever die. I don't see that ever actually happening. But I've also, in speaking with the angels, they call sometimes souls unattached souls, that they have forgotten their connection to source. And so it can feel as if maybe your soul had died, or maybe jokingly you can say that person's soulless, right? Like they don't have a soul. But the beauty is everything can be healed. Yeah, I love that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great question. I like that one.
Yeah, right? That was awesome. All right. I had some caffeine earlier today and I rarely have caffeine. I don't know what I was thinking, so I'm kind of zooming right now. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm still working on my third cup of the day.
Oh man. I really wanted a Coke today, so I got myself a Coke. Um, okay. Oh, this just is like breadcrumbs. How can I cultivate inner peace and happiness?
Oh my goodness. I thought we only had half an hour. Yeah. I mean, what the heck kind of question is that on a short session?
Well, it's for you to share,
Yeah.
This
It's a
is
big question with lots of tiny little answers, I think. Like there's no
100%.
one right way.
Yeah.
And, to cultivate that on a large scale takes, I think, years of growth, decades of growth and development. But also in the moments when you're down and struggling, I can go hug my cat or my child or walk out the front door and feel the sunshine on my face to
Mm.
cultivate a moment of what the question say, joy and happiness. Um,
Inner peace and happiness, which
oh,
again
inner
is
peace. Well, that's a little bit of a bigger piece, but I think, and it's different for everyone, right? We're all seeking different answers, different
mm,
coming
mm,
from different places. Peace, I think, kind of is a universal place or a feeling,
mhm,
emotion to arrive at, but we're all coming from different locations, different traumas, different problems, different learning levels. So how do you get there? Kind of depends on where you're coming from.
yeah,
If anything, I would say the first step that's almost probably the same for everyone is to make that effort. Like, how do I get there? Try, look
yeah,
for it,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
because so many people don't. They think
yeah,
it's out of their reach, or this is as good as it gets, or I don't deserve it, or I could never figure out how to get there, so I'm just not going to try, or I'm going to numb and medicate and never get there. Or,
mm, mhm,
yeah, I think once people start digging and start looking,
mhm,
it's almost inevitable that you'll find it.
mhm,
But so many
mhm,
don't look.
yeah. The Eckhart Tolle one of the practices that he uses, gosh, I'm feeling emotion again. There's just this emotion that apparently needs to come through. It's just, I guess, rooted in a lot of gratitude that I have. But what he talks about, and this, I get, we're talking about inner peace and happiness, but this exercise will apply here. He talks about that you are not the voice, you are the observer of the voice.
Yep.
And he goes, if you say, what voice? He goes, enter consciousness there. Wherever you are, let's say, again, your mind is really active, I don't deserve peace, etc. Like, enter peace there. And identifying what peace looks like for you, as you shared, is going to be so important. It's like why there are infinite hobbies, because what is going to bring you joy and happiness might be hell to another person.
Yeah.
Sincerely, like, I don't want to get on a like skid steer loader and go clear land. And maybe I do. I've never done it. But there's going to be somebody that like sees a skid steer loader and just wants to get on it and go, clear some land. For me, when I see plants that are about to die, I just want to go save them. And I could lose hours a day and be at a state of inner peace and happiness just getting my fingers dirty. And so, the other thing too that you shared is our energy oscillates throughout the day. And to measure yourself on the fact that you're not at peace is a form of judgment. And it's not necessarily reasonable to think that you're going to be at a state of peace all the time. That's just not, we're energetic beings. And again, our frequency is always moving. So that's beautiful. Is there anything else that you want to add before we move on to the next question that maybe came up while I was sharing?
Well, just if you find the way to get that inner peace all day, every day, like let me know. I want that recipe.
Yeah. Yeah. But also there's a point of, for me, like, joy might not necessarily is not necessarily the same resonance as peace. And
No,
so like I like to feel joyful and, inspired. And I like to have a little bit of a problem to solve at different times, that we're here to manipulate energy. So I don't know if me being at a state of peace always is necessarily something that I would even want.
that is a good point.
Yeah. But
I did like what you mentioned too, though, about the observer status or the observer state.
mhm.
That was one of the first pieces of my early spiritual awakening before I had any idea of any of this being spiritual per se,
Yeah.
was putting that gap between my thought, that inner narrative that never freaking stops, and realizing that I'm the one witnessing it.
Yeah.
I'm not that voice.
Yeah.
I'm the soul, the energy, at the time when I discovered that concept, I didn't even have a word to
For
put there. I'm the whatever. I'm the awareness behind it.
yeah.
And even if you're not a spiritual person or you're just getting into it, you don't have the answers. For me, that one piece still
Mhm.
carries the most weight because it puts a monicum of division. It's that pause between all of those thoughts and all of that stuff and all of the panic and the daily and the stress and the
Mhm.
and me. I am not that.
Yeah.
And just accepting that piece alone has taken all of those great big highs and great big lows of panic over a work emergency or panic over a relationship or whatever those things might be.
Mm.
And I don't identify with or connect with that panic anymore. Like I can see that it's there
Yeah.
and watch it instead of riding those big waves up and down and up and down. It that was a really big piece for me in starting to find and attract more of the joy and the peace
Mhm.
and less of the panic emergency stress of day-to-day life.
Mhm. Something that has started to present itself like a veil being removed is, in the past, when I thought about manifestations, I really focused on the words, right? And recently, and how this relates is we're talking about attracting things,
Mhm.
is recently I have, and I'm sure I watched something, or maybe it's just part of my path at this point in time, is instead of focusing on the words, I focus on the feeling that I would have
Mhm.
associated to that experience. So let's say it is 100,000 followers on YouTube. I imagine, instead of saying, speaking it as if it is true, which of course is an aspect of it, what does that feel like? How does that embodiment feel? Walking and living it every moment of every day. And also having it be rooted in my core values, because there are times where I'd ask for things and then I realized, like, I actually don't want that thing. I thought I did, but it actually doesn't connect to who I am as a soul at this point in time. And so that's something that I have really been focusing on, whatever the behavior is or whatever it is, within the universe that I'm seeking to physically manifest in my reality, is sincerely meditating on it and calling in that feeling, that frequency, as if it is true. And it has like
Mhm.
completely changed my outlook. And that's just within the last few weeks have I been doing that. So
That's
yeah.
fantastic. That
Yeah.
ties into the teachings of both Joe Dispenza, and uh, I was about to say Dolores Cannon because you just said it and that's not it. Esther Hicks, Abraham and
Oh,
Esther Hicks.
okay. Is that right?
'Cause she teaches, the vortex, your manifestation vortex. And one of the key things there that Abraham, through her,
Yeah.
teach is that don't fill in the grid. And the grid being the details. Don't tell the universe
Oh,
how to give you what you want. And I have come to realize that in telling them what I want,
yeah.
is telling them the how, right? I want to feel a certain way. I want to manifest this learning and this feeling. And by telling them how I want them to give that to me,
You won't
that's
have it.
filling the grid.
Yeah.
The universe is far more wise and has more resources than I do. So for me to pick the how or the what
Yeah.
is kind of silly because they know everything that I don't. So I think it's fantastic that you've come to the arrival of focusing on the feeling of already having it, because
Mhm.
really that's what you want. It's not necessarily the thing or
'Cause
the
that's
event
too,
experience.
because I'm gonna get it, and then it's like, "Fuck, I didn't dream big enough." So what's the next dream? Really.
Yeah,
So
yep.
hi,
That takes a
Nicole.
long time to work on though. Uh,
Yeah.
Hi.
Yes. Yes. And
Because
if
we're
any
good at knowing what we want. We're good at those to-do lists. We're good at knowing, hey, we want that promotion. We want that new house. We want that new car. Whatever it is we think we want, we're good at picking that out. But I don't think a lot of us go deep enough to understand why it is we want that. Like what are you chasing?
Yeah.
And it's hard to get to that next level because I've been working on that also, noticing a few months ago that I was trying to tell the universe what I wanted, and that's not deep enough, right? It's
Mhm.
still things that we're going after when really our soul is looking for experiences and emotions and sensations and learning.
Yeah.
Our soul doesn't care if we get a new car or a new SUV or a motorcycle or that hot new bike that I want to ride. Like it that
Yeah.
doesn't care. It's like, what feeling is that going to give me? What am I going to learn from that?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
sorry, I'm passionate about that one. You hit on a hot topic for me.
No, that's
So,
what we're here to do. It makes me think of something else in the book that I'm reading from Dolores Cannon right now. And in one of the regressions that she had done, and I think the chapter is called A Weary Traveler. And why it's titled that is this woman who incarnated while she's being regressed, and, you know, Dolores is communicating with her subconscious. Uh, Albeit it was her choice to come, she wished she would have had a little bit more time between the lifetimes to rest. So even before she came into the life, she was fully in balance, masculine and feminine energy. But even before she came into the body, she had fear about the parents she picked, about her ability to actually actualize the life purpose that she had had. And so how that relates is the woman had opened up a healing center, but nobody was going. And what her subconscious ultimately shared with her is that she was really good at telling, but she wasn't very good at living what she was telling. And so
mm,
she had healing that she needed to do. And the miraculous piece of what was shared is once she does the healing, like a moth to a flame, people are just going to flock to her, and her healing center is going to be absolutely greater than she could ever even imagine. But if she didn't heal herself and work on that fear, that and this what they said in the book is she had a 3-year time frame, that if she didn't figure that out, that she was going to have to get her exit plan, because the purpose that she came here for, she wasn't manifesting, and there was no use of her being here anymore, which I thought was really powerful. And it just goes to, you don't need to know the how, you just need to know the what. And it's like A Course in Miracles. These things will just happen for you, but based off of uh, the intention and the feeling that you are generating consistently.
That's a
So
great story.
yeah. Oh, this book is great. And what I like about it is the chapters are like 6 to 7 pages long. So,
Okay.
yeah, it's I enjoy it. What,
Dolores Canyon, Three Waves of Volunteers.
yeah,
Okay,
and
I'm
the
gonna have to
new,
look that up.
yeah,
Okay,
it's awesome. Are we ready for the next question?
go for it.
Okay, cool. Wow, and we got about a little bit less than 10 minutes. So
I know it goes fast.
it does. I want this one right here. Oh. So this one is a twofer. I didn't know that I'd even put a twofer there. So I'll ask them both and then we'll see where we want to go. How can I navigate spiritual crises? And then what is the role of service in spiritual practice?
Oh boy,
I know. So how can I
boy.
navigate spiritual crises?
I like that one because I feel like I've had some.
100%. I have
At
two.
least when my spiritual awakening happened, it was all new and it was all terrifying, and things would happen, and like you have no idea if you can get hurt doing these things or not. You have no idea if you can break things or hurt people or hurt yourself. Like you have no idea.
Yeah.
And my biggest advice is just ask. Find people online, on YouTube, on Facebook, on your neighbors. If you're in a church type community, ask, just don't sit there by yourself and panic and wonder. Start Googling, find someone, talk, ask, because there's not an encyclopedia out there to explain all this stuff. There's really not. But there's a lot of people with a lot of experience who are more than willing, per the second question, to help
Yeah.
others on their journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's my biggest piece of advice. Calm down and get help.
I have had many. When I had my awakening in 2020, I mean, I essentially was reborn in a year. That's how I describe it. So imagine, I mean, I was as raw as a baby at certain times. And uh, what I know to be true is that you would not be presented with anything that you weren't ready for in that moment. And I heard this analogy recently, and I definitely heard it on YouTube, but how the person was sharing it is, it's like if you get a new hat, for example, um, it's a new hat and you might feel uncomfortable in this new hat, but nobody else around you knows that it's a new hat. And then you wear it for a little bit and you just feel really comfortable because it's become a part of you. When you start to have these new knowings or rememberings, is what I call them, you might feel like just weird because you have never felt this way before, but nobody else knows that. And so you don't need to minimize or, alter yourself in any way. That's just a perception of yourself within this reality. Nobody else knows that. Um, and so the other thing I would say about the spiritual crises is we have shields around our souls. We are divinely protected. You have an entire team, whether it be your guardian angels or it could be your spirit team. And you can always call on them. Like you said, you talked about physical relationships, but we have so much support that we can't actually, maybe discern with our five senses. But we're always connected to something greater than ourselves. And you can always ask for help in that moment. I like to go ground myself. That's something like, particularly in a spiritual crisis, maybe your relationships the contract has worn out and it is time for some new ones. And that could be part of what you're navigating. But going outside, being in nature, grounding yourself, for me, absolutely quiets anything that could be making me feel unsettled or ungrounded. And the last thing that comes through as I'm channeling on this is just being careful with our words, as opposed to calling it a crisis, we could call it an opportunity, so that is something else that just comes through as I'm presented with that question. With reference to service and spiritual practice, there are some folks, and this is what I love, is Samantha and I are both channels, but based off of our life experience, we could be asked the exact same question and have two different answers. And so it doesn't make Samantha's answer wrong or my answer wrong. It's just two different perspectives. The other thing I want to give people permission is that sometimes part of our life's purpose is to be alone. And it can just be for certain stretches amount of time, or other people that live pretty solitary lives, and maybe they just go to town to the grocery store, or they go on a walk, and they don't realize, but energetically they are a vacuum, and they're cleaning up all of the streets, and they're cleaning up the grocery store just by their existence. And so, albeit they are alone, in the sense of more isolated, that doesn't mean they're not actualizing their spiritual purpose. And that's what, for me, what I've experienced. Um, let's see. I think we have time for one more. I'm going to try to get us one more, Spirit, and then. Well, as I'm doing this, I believe there should be some contact information below. Are you working with clients right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. So Samantha's information is below. If you are finding resonance with her and would like to work with her, you can find that below. Oh, this is a great way to end. Is karma a form of punishment?
Oh boy. Well, that's what most people think it is.
I know.
So, instantly you hear the word karma and go, I don't
Yeah.
want that. But I think you and I have talked about karma a lot of times. I would rather hear the word balance
Mhm.
or
Mhm.
learning, contracts, give and
Mhm.
take,
Yeah.
because you can incur good karma. You can have a karmic agreement to say, hey, I'm going to do this for you and you're going to do this for me. And sometimes that means in this lifetime, I'm going to hurt you royally
Yeah.
because that's what your soul asked me to do.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Mhm.
karmic, yes, absolutely. It's an agreement. It's sometimes it sucks.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
Yeah.
think you can put out what you get back. I think a lot of times karma is rather bit mistaken for manifestation.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
if you're putting out negative, guess what's going to come back?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
if you're putting out smiles and happiness and gratitude and helping other people, guess what's probably going to come back? So
Yeah.
there's a lot of elements to that that I think are commonly mistaken for the concept of karma that really aren't what karma is, in my opinion.
I agree 100%. I actually had an experience this week related to karma, and there's a person in my life that I've experienced some behaviors that they have. And the behaviors, I don't think this person wants, but I don't know if anybody's ever brought it to their attention. And it was weighing on me. And so this week, I realized that I had a contract with this person, and that it was part of, I would continue to have this relationship with this person until I actually shared this information. And I did it in a very loving way. But when I think about the karma that I have between this person, that was a way in which it balanced what I had promised to do in this lifetime. Karma 100% does not judge. I would call it a way in which it's an energy, and it's a way in which our souls can experience what they came here to experience. But it isn't like black and white. It oscillates. And so, to your point, let's say there's a relationship that you have and you run from that relationship. Well, if there was something you were supposed to learn from it, then the universe will just create another opportunity in a different relationship for that same balancing to transpire. So,
We love our repeating patterns as humans, don't we?
yeah, 100%. And the beauty though is the more that we are able to observe and become aware, we can see the cycles of
Mhm.
choice that we have. Yeah, 100%. So,
Awesome.
well, we are up on time. I want to say for anybody that joined today, thank you so much for sharing your energy with us. There are a variety of ways in which you can be spending your time. If you want to connect with Samantha, below the video in the description box will be contact information. We both work with clients. So if there is resonance with either of us, we would love to connect and learn a little bit more. I just want to end this, conversation with just letting you know that you are important, that you are loved, that there are no mistakes, and that God doesn't make any junk. Fear is not real, and you are capable of so many things greater than your wildest dreams could ever even imagine. And we need you to go out and actualize those things. Sincerely, the universe needs you. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And I am live. I believe the next I am live is going to be this next Wednesday with a trans angelic and psychic energy healer, Erica Larson. So we'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Mhm.